All right, so Joel is asking us about Frost running the option, which, that kind of harkens him back to his playing days. The thing I'll say, Greg, before you take off on that is that when you go back and watch like the old Oklahoma, Nebraska games, and you went to teams that really could run the option, like Charles Thompson and Jamel Holloway and those kind of guys, and the Texas teams, the reason that the option was such a beautiful thing to watch, like that flip could come out of the quarterback's hand at any time, and it wasn't just behind the line of scrimmage. They'd be 20 yards downfield and flip it sometimes, and it seemed like it was always right before that they were just going to get hammered.
And then you forget about the fullback.
The fullback dive. That's the first option.
Fullback dive, boom, all over you.
Yeah, so the reason they were so good at that, and it was just in such the spacing and everything was just perfect at top speed, was they did it over and over and over and over and over. And that's all they did.
Machine. Nope.
Exactly. The timing was just, and so the reason I lead with that is because you see some teams.
It was all based on reads, on what the defense was doing.
Yeah.
And, that was the only thing that was different is that, what are they doing? Oh, we're going to hand it off. Boom, fullback dive, or we're going to.
And again, that's.
Or we're going to hand it off to a 43 trap on the running back, bust it for 80 yards, or, I don't know.
And again, they did it. The repetition was there constantly. And sometimes you'll see a team now that will never run the option, and they'll do it like 4 times a season. They'll break out an option, and it looks ugly because they never do it, and the quarterback doesn't know the spacing, and it really is not effective, and so you got to be careful with that.
Well, yeah, and you know what? I mean, Coach Frost actually was asked that question last month when I was in attendance there in Kearney, Nebraska, on the Big Red Blitz tour. And, the answer is pretty straightforward, is that nobody is really doing that besides a couple of teams. And you just can't recruit because guys, you're not running that offense anymore anywhere, not in the NFL. And it's just, you use parts of it, and you'll see. Coach Frost he used it last year a couple of times, and it throws a little ringer in there. And to your point, nobody practices that. I think if anybody that doesn't run the option anymore, is that Nebraska does probably throw that in there for a few plays every practice, just to keep that in their arsenal. But bottom line is that, offenses have progressed so much over the last how many years, and the option game is basically obsolete. And there's just really, I don't ever see any way that you could actually incorporate that in to be in your main offense ever again to be successful, because it's just not the way people play football anymore.
You'd have the ultimate offense if you could do everything well, but you just don't have enough practice time, and it's not feasible that you can do everything well. Or you'd have the ultimate offense that no defense could defend because you could do everything well.
Nebraska would still be running the dang option if they were still dominating, right?
And that's why coaches talk about having an identity. That means you know what you do well, and you do that almost all the time.
Yeah. There's just no, the option offense we saw work for, a handful of programs that concentrated on that for many, many years. But then the game started to progress, and the passing game started to take things over, and it's not a feasible thing anymore. And, you kind of have to blend in with the times. And unfortunately, since Nebraska had to move into the Big Ten, I think that fans have always been clamoring to have that option game going on and hand it off, 80 times a game and throw the ball 10 times a game kind of ratio. And hey, that worked great. And you know what? I bet 20 years ago that would have worked just as good in the Big Ten. But nowadays, not so much.